Alright, so I saw the premiere of Rise of the Zombies, the sci-fi original movie that was on last night. And it was okay. I mean, there were some surprising moments in it, and then there was some really unoriginal stuff in it, but it mixed together to make an alright ride for the viewers. So I say there was some unoriginal content in it because a lot of the stuff was borrowed from other zombie movies, but it had enough of its own take on the things that it did borrow from that it wasn't like obviously like it wasn't like ripping off of their zombie things, but it was like you could tell that even if it wasn't intentional, some of it wasn't original. Like okay, so the plot is I must have missed like however the zombies came to be, like why they're zombies all of a sudden, but there's zombies on Alcatraz, and then they get to the island. Zombies can swim for some reason. They like won't. Well, I mean, obviously they won't drown because they're already dead, but they can. They'll swim like all the way from Alcatraz to Southern California. And so a team is like on Alcatraz, and they need to get off it. And so like all of them except for one guy leaves. The one guy stays there to like study things. Like his daughter, I think it's his daughter, gets infected, and he's like raising her. And I can like see bits of Day of the Dead in that how he's like taking care of her and seeing what she'll eat and stuff. And so he's like trying to take care of her, and then the team goes to Southern California and tries to find this guy. They like FaceTimed or something. They like got a live feed with this guy who's apparently found some sort of cure or vaccine that'll like prevent you from turning into a zombie. And the whole movie is like them like fending off zombies and getting to that place and eventually getting there. And then the conclusion is basically, I want to say like bittersweet because they get what they're after, but they don't. You don't see anything after that. You don't know for sure. And even like the last line is kind of like glass half empty-ish. Not like majorly pessimistic, but they're like, oh, what if nothing? What if it doesn't work? And then there's your movie. But I don't know whether to say this movie is good or bad because like the first half of this movie is just them like fighting off zombies, and it's a bunch of action sequence that doesn't have a lot of style to it. But then the second half comes, and that's where the movie really picks up because there's some like oh man moments, like stuff I didn't see coming. In the very beginning, you see this group of people who are driving, escaping the zombies, and then they drive, and they're like driving down this like curvy path, and they flip over, and there's a pregnant girl in there, and she's like the only one that lives, and you see like scenes of her walking around through the empty city in different parts of the first half of the movie, and she's like trying to stay alive. You see her like eating stuff out of a trash can. But then like at the halfway point, the main group of people that you see that are like trying to find the vaccine find her, and she's like in an emergency an ambulance, and she like went in there. They're on a bridge right now, and they went in there to she went in there to like lock herself away from the zombies, but she comes out and she gets bitten and dies with her baby inside her. And she like before she dies, she's like telling them to oh she's like telling them save my baby. Just she's telling them to shoot her and save her baby. And this is where it kind of starts. I see elements of Dawn of the Dead. I've seen the remake of Dawn of the Dead. I haven't seen the original. I don't know how much was kept the same or added. But in the remake, there's the pregnant girl, and she has the baby, and then the baby's infected, and that's kind of what happens here because they cut her they give her a C section basically, and they cut the baby out, and the baby looks normal at first, and then you see like it start to turn gray and its eyes turn white, and then she throws the baby on the ground and stomps on it, and you hear like crushing sounds, but it doesn't show like she like wrapped the baby up, so you just see like its head sticking out, and so that scene was kind of brutal for. I know it wasn't entirely original, but still for like a sci-fi original low budget movie, it was pretty brutal to watch. And there's other brutal things in this movie, 'cause there's another part where this girl is one of the main characters. She tells after seeing that she like says that she's pregnant, and she's telling this to the lead actress, and she's telling her that she doesn't want to have the baby, and then she says she wants to take it out of her. And I'm like, whoa, we're going into abortion territory on a sci-fi original movie. Like I felt uncomfortable. I was like, please don't have an abortion in this movie, but she doesn't. The lead talks her out of it, and it's brought up later on. There's a later scene with the girl, and this is my favorite scene in the movie. I really like this scene because the girls riding. I don't know where they found this like little bus thing. It looked like a kind of like a tour bus almost. It didn't look like a regular bus for like riding, getting around town. But she was in this bus, and she was with her boyfriend because she says the baby isn't the boyfriend's. The baby's she said she got knocked up at a party, and then you see this scene later where she's not explaining. The boyfriend just kind of says, "I don't care who it is that's behind us because we will love this baby together." And so you get the idea that she told him what's going on. The boyfriend didn't know that she was pregnant before, but it kind of skipped over like any scene of like his reaction to it initially. But then he gets off the bus, and the lead actress gets on the bus again. I don't remember the main character's name, but she's talking with him, or she's talking with the girl, and she convinces her that like once she sees, this is actually in the scene before it. She's telling the girl that once she sees the baby's face, she'll fall in love with it, and she'll realize how precious it is, and that it's worth keeping. And then on the bus scene, I don't know where she finds this, but she gets this little toy truck, and she gives it to him, or she gives it. Why do I keep saying him? She gives it to the girl, and she's like, "You're gonna need this later." And she's like rolling the truck on her leg, and then the lead actress gets off the bus, and then the girl like lifts her hand off the truck, and the truck falls like it's like slow motion falls to the ground and like tumbles. And I won't tell you what the girl does after that, but it was surprising. Like that wasn't really ripping off anything, that scene, and that's why I liked it so much, because it was still really intense, and it felt fresh. Like I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. And that one scene probably sold the movie for me, because it had like nice music to go with it, and it wasn't really contradicting the scene, but it like made you feel for the character even if you shouldn't be because of what she did. And I don't know, I won't spoil it, but I really like that scene, and it was directed really well, that scene too. The director Nick Lyons, or Nick Lyon, I don't think there's an S at it. He's done a couple sci-fi movies in the past. This movie is more like Annihilation Earth, and then in that the first half is kind of like building to it, but not a bunch of stuff happens. And then the second half is like the last little bit of the movie is really intense. This movie, the last half of the movie, Rise of the Zombies, is pretty entertaining compared to the first one. It's hard to review this when, like, if you just saw the first of the half, you'd think this movie is kind of a waste of time, but then the second half is like, whoa, this movie has something to it. And another thing I want to say is because like the scenes with the guy who stayed on Alcatraz to like take care of his daughter, it seems kind of pointless. I mean, it was all right. It was good characterization with him, because there's some extreme things he did that were also like cringeworthy. Like he cut off a piece of his body to feed to his daughter, and I was like, ugh, because it kind of looked real at one point. It kind of looked like you could see like bone underneath where he was cutting off from, and it was just kind of that was like one of the three brutal moments. Well, the other scene wasn't really brutal; it was just kind of intense. The scene I just described before that, but yeah, he's taking care of his daughter, but it just seemed all pointless because there's nothing to it. Like he doesn't do anything. He doesn't. The other characters never find out about it. So it's just like, what was the point of all that? He doesn't. He doesn't. Oh well, actually, he does kind of find out that the zombies react heavily to electricity. That's like the one original piece of like fighting off the zombies instead of just like shooting them in the head or because it's always been shooting them in the head with zombie movies, but this they don't like electricity, so that's like the one thing with this movie that's original in regards to the zombies and how to kill them. But yeah, when this movie ends, it has a nice soundtrack to the end. I like this. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it was a nice upbeat soundtrack. Not really like jolly, like, but it was like kind of atmospheric, and it just kind of ends because you don't know what's going to happen next, and that's it. That's this movie. I don't know what if I would recommend it or not, because if you didn't like the Dawn of the Dead remake, then chances are you're not going to like this. That's what I can tell you, because I wouldn't say this movie. There's some things I liked about this movie that Dawn of the Dead didn't have, but a lot of the stuff Dawn of the Dead did have, like the cinematography and the characterization with both movies. But I guess one thing I'll leave you off with is the lead actress. I keep mentioning her because I don't remember her name, but she was probably like the least convincing out of all the actors. Danny Trejo's in this movie. He does all right, but you don't see him in the second half of the movie, so that's kind of what you have to work with. But if you wanna just see a movie with some cool scenes in it and just senseless violence, then sure, watch this movie. You should get something out of it. But if you're expecting a totally, completely fresh zombie movie that's great all the way through, then this movie's not for you. But I'd watch this movie again just for some of the scenes and the soundtrack in the end. So, Rise of the Zombies, that's it. Bing bang goodbye.